Hey kiddies, it's Triple Feature Tuesday once again, and this week we look at pretty women's unnerving journeys through color and sound. Sound and color. Considering that we're all about to go through an unnerving 4-year journey, I thought we'd look at some of the more recent spectacular journeys through color and sound that we keep putting young female actresses through. These are fairly just whacked out weirdo movies. I really like this triple feature because it's just bizarre. None of these movies are exactly what you think they're going to be, and even me warning you that they're not going to be what you think they're going to be is still not going to prepare you for just how crazy they actually are. Throughout all of them, they have just really strong visual sense, sometimes going really crazy with the color, and sometimes just shooting it very, very just crisp and sharply. The sound design in all of them, it just kind of wanders through just ambient noise to unnerving synthesizer music that I'm always a fan of. I mean, grew up watching like John Carpenter movies. You're gonna like these movies sound wise, and in general, it's just great to have a triple feature with so many strong female performances with varying degrees of presenting and thereafter attacking the patriarchy in these films, sometimes quite literally. So our menu is going to include Under the Skin, The Neon Demon, and Beyond the Black Rainbow. Under the Skin's a 2013 film by Jonathan Glazer, the writer-director behind Sexy Beast, which, oddly enough, the more I mention it to people, the more they haven't seen it. Guys, Sexy Beast. Ben Kingsley, Ray Winstone, Ian McShane. One of the best things all three of these guys have ever done, and they all did it together. Why have you not seen this? Anyway, Under the Skin is about a presumably alien person that is designed to look like Scarlett Johansson, who goes around Scotland collecting men for nefarious reasons that are never explained at all, and the journey she goes on when she decides not to work for the people she works for anymore. It's hard to, like, a common theme running throughout all of these films is there's very little in the way of A leads to B leads to C plotting. There are a lot more character pieces. Even those, you're not given a lot to work with, so I don't know how much I'll be able to talk about each of these individually. But Scarlett Johansson, she's never actually named, and actually her character is quite interesting in that she is always talking to the Scottish men to lure them into the creepy house where they fall into the black goo while she disrobes. After she quits and is presumably going off on her own to do her own thing, she never actually speaks, so we never hear what the actual character thinks about anything. We only hear these pre-designed conversations she has to lure men in. So her character is very interesting. Scarlett Johansson, I knew she was a good actress before, but man, this is her Tom Hanks in Castaway performance. The whole movie rests on her, and and it's a predominantly silent part, and if after a while you just stop seeing international sex symbol Scarlett Johansson and it's just this bizarre creature going around doing her work, and then after quitting that job trying to figure out what it might be like to be human and seeing how poorly that goes for her. I say her. We have no idea what gender this thing actually is. It's really neat. In terms of fighting the patriarchy, she quits the patriarchy. All of her presumably alien handlers in the film are presented as men, these motorcyclists that are sent to collect her and collect all the people when she messes up. She rejects it and she has very little interaction with women. It's just always like she's either collecting men or dealing with men in terms of some of them that help her out when she's on her own, and others that are intrigued and then horrified by her without getting into too much spoilers. The soundtrack is very, very creepy and reserved. It's there when it needs to be, and when it's not, it disappears, making it even more effective when it comes back. And there are just these scenes in the place she takes these men to do I don't know what. There's just everything. The look of those scenes in comparison to the general naturalistic look of all of the scenes in Scotland is quite striking and affecting, and that's all aside from the fact that she's just, you know, collecting people to be murdered in terrible, terrible ways. So it's a good way to start off. This is the most grounded movie we're gonna have. The triple feature is arranged in ascending order of what am I looking at. So if you have trouble with this, hold on to your hats. Next up, we have Nicholas Winding Refn's The Neon Demon, starring Elle Fanning as a kind of a modern all-about Eve type of character, as this young 16-year-old ingenue type of model that goes to Hollywood to pursue her dream of being a supermodel. And all of the less than scrupulous characters she meets along the way, including a makeup artist played by Jenna Malone, an agent by Christina Hendricks, her landlord played by scene-stealingly sleazy Keanu Reeves, and her two chief rivals played by Abby Lee and Bella Heathcote for modeling gigs. The plots of these movies just kind of coalesce as opposed to lead you anywhere, and so you gotta kind of have faith that you're gonna get somewhere worth going to. And you know, the only thing I'm gonna tell you is you do. Where it starts and where it ends up are so radically different in terms of expectations, but everybody's really great in it. The color throughout the whole film, like it's very clearly set in the real world, with couple dream sequences aside, with like the pyramid imagery, which will come back again in Beyond the Black Rainbow. It's a stylized real world, which makes sense because you're going to Hollywood, the place where dreams are made reality. So it shouldn't look like the real world, even the parts that are set in the real world. And the synthesizer soundtrack is just beautiful, and everybody is interesting in it. I've seen Elle Fanning in a few movies, and she seems to be gaining talent as she goes along. At first blush, you're going to think she's one thing, but she's so many different things throughout the whole movie, and that's what keeps it intriguing. The same with her two rival models, played by Abby Lee and Bella Heathcote. Jenna Malone, yeah. Jenna Malone just gets better and better with each movie. I've liked her since Donnie Darko, and you know, she's the one of the only two good things in that really terrible Sucker Punch movie. The other one being Dance Number with Oscar Isaacs and Carly Gino. But Jenna Malone can turn her characters on a dime, which is quite fascinating to watch. So I'm always happy when she pops up in things. Then there's Keanu playing somebody unlike anybody I've ever seen Keanu play before. So even if you're not into the plot so much, but it's worth watching these actors play these characters, because it's not necessarily against type, but it's everybody's given room to explore different types of performances than you have seen them in before. On top of that, again, it's just visually striking. Every scene is interesting and different in its own way. And finally, there's just so much what the value to this movie throughout everything that just escalates and escalates. And so I had heard good things, and I was very happy to see that Neon Demon lives up to all those expectations while destroying every other expectation I had for the movie. Finally, we have Panos Cosmatos' Beyond the Black Rainbow, which it's about something, you know, other than like 2.5 hours long. It is such a weird movie. It was on Netflix forever. It's not currently, but it'll probably pop up again. I mean, if only because international tastemaker Tom O'Reilly is talking about it on his video this week. The movie is ostensibly about a young woman named Elena, who is the daughter of Dr. Mercurio Arboria, the head of a new age, science-y, self-help guru clinic, the Arboria Institute, which is insane. The whole movie takes place in 1983, so it's going to account for like the synthesizers and the looks of everything. Elena has undefined mental superpowers that are perpetually being tested by Dr. Arboria's second-in-command, Dr. Barry Nile. Fortunately for Elena, like in addition to just being trapped in a place where nobody would want to be, Dr. Barry Nile is quite insane. and has gone completely off the deep end and is just torturing everybody that he can get his hands on. And so the movie is about escaping the Arborea Institute and Dr. Nile. So whereas the fight against the patriarchy is applied, and in The Neon Demon, you're not necessarily fighting the patriarchy so much as turning the patriarchy on its head and dealing with other things. Beyond the Black Rainbow is quite literally fighting the patriarchy, because it is an evil institution run by Elena's father and his father's heir apparent. So she's trying to get out of that. That is the most I can tell you plot-wise about this movie and how it goes. It is borderline unintelligible, but it's quite a good experience. Like, if you've ever seen it, it is not dissimilar to Enter the Void in terms of just zoning out into color and letting the audience just kind of feel the movie more than actually understand the movie. But unlike Enter the Void, Beyond the Black Rainbow is not like 12 hours long and just nonsensical, so it's kind of better than that. You can see a lot of David Cronenberg inspired ideas in this movie, especially if you've seen Stereo and Crimes of the Future, Cronenberg's initial short films before he made Shivers, where it is like Philip K. Dick-esque crazy institutes for weirdo science, William Burroughs type of Dr. Benway experiments on this poor girl. All throughout it, the color and the sound just make everything creepy, and you experience the movie more than you understand it. What's impressive is that there are parts of the movie that are just completely terrifying, if only because you don't know exactly what is going on or what you're seeing, and you have to kind of interpret it. Eventually, it does kind of adhere to 80s slasher tropes, but not necessarily in ways you'd think. Again, all throughout this triple feature, expectations will be turned on their head in delightful ways. Predominantly unknown, to me at least, actors in this movie. Ava Allen plays Elena, and she manages to exude a lot of strength despite the passive nature of her character until she's, gets up and going. Whereas Michael Rogers as Barry Nile is just full-on creepy from start to finish, and you see him gradually ratchet up his creepiness throughout the film, which was really delightful. And then there are the Sentionauts, who were probably the parents of Daft Punk. Again, I have no idea. I have no idea, other than it is worth watching. All three of these are worth watching in sequence, so that your brain kind of gets either like totally expanded or goes completely insane. This has been Pretty Women's unnerving journeys through color and sound, and hopefully, if the world does not end on Friday, I will see you next week with another video.